Aryan was full of questions. Why is my life so difficult? Why do others succeed while I struggle? Why do my efforts feel wasted? These thoughts chased him daily like storm clouds. It felt like his life was stuck in a constant loop of frustration. Every time he tried to move forward, these questions would drag him back. Each question led to another, spiraling deeper into doubt and anger. He couldn't escape the mental fog, and no matter how hard he tried, his questions seemed to grow louder and more persistent. He was trapped in a cycle of negativity, and no matter where he looked, no solution seemed to present itself. At work, he doubted his abilities. Every task felt overwhelming, and he questioned if he was even cut out for the job. He was surrounded by colleagues who appeared to glide through their responsibilities, and this only made his insecurities more pronounced. At home, he felt empty. The more time he spent alone, the more the questions consumed him. Nights were restless as his mind replayed his failures on a loop, dissecting every misstep, no matter how small. Maybe I'm just not meant for success, he thought bitterly, as despair slowly began to settle in. He searched for answers everywhere, books, videos, advice, but nothing seemed to bring the relief he so desperately sought. It was as if the more he tried to find an answer, the further away it seemed to get. His questions remained, louder and heavier each day, and with each passing moment, they seemed to weigh him down even more. The more Aryan questioned, the heavier his heart felt. His thoughts became a constant burden, making simple tasks feel overwhelming. Every time he asked, "What's wrong with me?" he felt a little more defeated. The pressure of his doubts seemed to grow with every passing day. The simplest tasks, once manageable, now appeared insurmountable. At work, he struggled with self-doubt, comparing himself to colleagues who seemed to glide through their responsibilities with ease. While they thrived, he felt stuck. His mind constantly questioned his abilities, draining his energy. At home, things weren't any better. The weight of his thoughts followed him everywhere. He felt empty, disconnected from those around him. He longed for the same peace others seemed to have, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find it. Why can't I be like them? He wondered. His thoughts spiraled further, and with each question, he felt more isolated. The more he questioned, the heavier the weight on his chest became. He felt trapped in a cycle of negativity that seemed impossible to escape. Each day, he asked the same questions, hoping for a different answer, but nothing changed. Deep down, Aryan began to wonder if there was a better way to think, a way to break free from this mental prison. He wondered if changing the questions he asked could change his outlook on life. But the more he thought about it, the more overwhelmed he felt. How could something as simple as a question change everything? Despite his confusion, he knew that something had to change. He couldn't continue down this path of self-doubt and negativity. But how? One evening, while walking through the park, Aryan met an elderly gardener named Kabir. Despite his age, Kabir worked with quiet joy, tending to the flowers and plants around him. Aryan, curious about the peace the gardener seemed to possess, couldn't help but ask, "Why do you always seem so at peace?" Kabir chuckled softly. "It's not about having no problems," he said. "It's about asking better questions." Aryan was puzzled. "What do you mean?" Kabir smiled and paused, wiping his hands on his pants. "Instead of asking, 'Why is this so hard?' I ask, 'What can I learn from this?' That simple shift changes everything." Aryan stood there, stunned. His mind raced as he processed Kabir's words. He had never thought about it that way. Kabir continued to work, planting seeds with care and patience. "When life gets difficult," he said, "you can choose to stay stuck in the question of why me? Or you can shift your perspective and ask, what's the lesson here?" The words sank deep into Aryan's mind, planting the seed of curiosity. He realized that his current mindset, full of endless why questions, had kept him trapped in frustration and helplessness. Kabir's simple but profound words made Aryan wonder if it was possible to change his perspective, to stop asking questions that weighed him down and start asking questions that could help him grow. For the first time in a long time, Aryan felt a glimmer of hope. Kabir wasn't offering him a solution to all his problems, but he was offering him a new way of thinking, a way to approach life with curiosity rather than defeat. "What can I learn from this?" Aryan repeated to himself, testing the question in his mind. It felt different, almost freeing. He couldn't wait to see how this shift in thinking might change his life. Maybe, just maybe, it was time for him to stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What can I learn?" Kabir smiled and shared a story with Aryan. Once there was a gardener who faced harsh weather. His crops failed and his plants withered. He could have asked, "Why is nature against me?" But instead he asked, "How can I prepare better for the next season?" Aryan listened intently, leaning in as Kabir continued. This simple shift in thinking led him to build shelter for his plants, improve the soil, and choose the best seeds. The next year, his garden flourished. Kabir paused and looked at Aryan. "You see," he said, "the gardener didn't get stuck in blaming nature. He shifted his perspective and used the difficulty to grow." Aryan felt a shift in his own thinking. He had always viewed challenges as setbacks, as signs that something was wrong. But Kabir's story made him realize that challenges could be opportunities for growth. "So," Aryan asked, "changing the question changes the outcome?" Kabir nodded. "Exactly," he said. "Your questions shape your vision. Ask better questions, and you'll see clearer paths. You'll see solutions instead of obstacles." As Aryan reflected on Kabir's words, he realized that his previous mindset of asking, "Why me?" had kept him stuck in frustration. But by asking, "What can I learn from this?" he could change the direction of his thoughts and actions. It was as though a door had opened in his mind, and he was beginning to see things in a new light. He knew that this was just the beginning, but for the first time, he felt like he had the power to shift his life's direction. Kabir finished his work and stood up, brushing the dirt from his hands. "Remember, Aryan," he said with a kind smile, "life will always have challenges, but with the right questions, you can navigate through them with wisdom." Aryan thanked him, his mind buzzing with new ideas. As he walked away, he felt a sense of hope and possibility he hadn't felt in a long time. That night, Aryan lay in bed, reflecting on his conversation with Kabir. His mind raced with the new idea of shifting his questions. He had caught himself about to ask, "Why am I failing?" but remembered Kabir's words and quickly reframed the question, "What is this failure teaching me?" Instantly he felt a shift. His perspective changed from frustration to curiosity. Instead of seeing failure as a permanent setback, he now saw it as an opportunity to learn and grow. The next day, Aryan faced a challenging project at work. The old thoughts crept in, doubts about his abilities and fears of failure. But this time he paused before spiraling into negativity. He asked himself, "What can I learn from this challenge?" The simple question changed everything. His anxiety lessened, and he felt more focused. Rather than feeling overwhelmed, he started breaking down the task into smaller, manageable steps. Each step felt like a small victory, and his confidence began to grow. At home, Aryan began to apply this new mindset. Instead of focusing on what wasn't working in his life, he shifted to asking, "What can I appreciate about this moment?" It wasn't always easy, and sometimes the old patterns of thinking crept back in. But with each passing day, he practiced reframing his questions. Slowly, he began to notice the positive changes. He felt lighter, more hopeful, and more in control of his journey. His energy was no longer consumed by the weight of constant self-doubt. As the weeks went by, Aryan began to feel a sense of empowerment. He wasn't waiting for the perfect solution or answer. Instead, he was taking control of his thoughts and actions. He knew that there would still be difficult days ahead, but now he had a tool to navigate them with a clearer mind. He realized that the power wasn't in having all the answers, but in asking the right questions. And for the first time in a long while, he felt like he was moving in the right direction. Aryan's transformation continued as he began practicing his new mindset daily. Each morning, before making any decision, he paused and asked himself, "What can I learn from this situation?" Whether it was a small task or a challenging problem, he reframed his thoughts. Instead of fearing failure, he embraced it as a chance to grow. This simple shift had a profound impact. He felt more present, more in control of his actions, and less overwhelmed by the weight of uncertainty. As he practiced, Aryan noticed a significant reduction in his anxiety. His mind wasn't consumed by worry about what might go wrong. Instead, he focused on what he could do to make things better. This shift in perspective brought a sense of calm that he hadn't felt in a long time. Each day, he took small steps toward his goals, no longer paralyzed by fear or self-doubt. With each success, no matter how small, his confidence grew. He realized that progress didn't have to be grand or immediate. Even small changes made a big difference in the long run. One of the most noticeable changes was in how Aryan viewed his relationships. Instead of focusing on what others could do for him, he began to ask, "How can I support those around me?" This new perspective helped him build stronger, more meaningful connections with the people in his life. He felt more connected and less isolated. His friends noticed the change and commented on how much more positive and engaged he seemed. Aryan felt a quiet joy knowing that he was not only growing himself but also helping others grow along the way. With time, Aryan began to realize that the key to lasting change wasn't in making huge leaps, but in making consistent, small adjustments. Every day, he focused on asking better questions and shifting his mindset. And with every small change, he saw the impact ripple out into every part of his life. The more he practiced, the clearer his path became, and for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was moving forward with purpose. With his new mindset, Aryan began to notice opportunities he had previously overlooked. Challenges that once felt like threats now seemed like invitations to grow. He volunteered for projects he had once feared, embracing the discomfort of the unknown. Instead of shying away from challenges, he welcomed them, knowing each one offered him a chance to expand his skills and mindset. Aryan's perspective had shifted so profoundly that he no longer viewed obstacles as roadblocks, but as stepping stones toward personal growth. As he continued to ask better questions, Aryan's confidence began to grow. He stopped worrying about making mistakes and started focusing on learning from them. The more he embraced this mindset, the more he realized that his failures were not reflections of his inadequacy, but opportunities to learn and improve. He became less concerned with perfection and more focused on progress. Each small step forward gave him a sense of accomplishment, and with every challenge he faced, he grew stronger. At work, Aryan's transformation was becoming noticeable. He approached his tasks with a renewed sense of purpose and a positive attitude. His colleagues began to notice his shift in energy. They commented on how much more engaged he seemed and how he was taking on more responsibilities with enthusiasm. Aryan realized that his growth was not just personal, it was impacting those around him as well. His mindset had become contagious, inspiring others to think more positively and embrace challenges with a similar outlook. One of the biggest changes Aryan noticed was in his relationships. He stopped focusing on what he wasn't getting from others and started asking, "How can I support and uplift the people in my life?" This small change in perspective allowed him to build stronger, more meaningful connections. He felt more connected to the people around him and was able to offer support in ways he hadn't before. His relationships deepened, and he felt a sense of fulfillment knowing that he was contributing to the growth of others, just as he was growing himself. As Aryan's transformation continued, his friends began to notice the change in him. They asked, "What's your secret?" With a humble smile, Aryan shared the wisdom that had shifted his life. "It's simple," he said. "Change your questions." He explained how by shifting from self-pity to self-discovery, from blame to learning, he had found peace and growth. His life had become a testament to the power of asking better questions. Aryan's story spread, inspiring those around him to rethink their own lives. He helped them shift their perspective, teaching them to replace limiting questions with empowering ones. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment as he saw others waking up to their potential, just as he had. It became clear that the journey of transformation wasn't just about him. The impact of his own growth was rippling out, helping others grow too. Aryan realized that life's greatest gift wasn't just to be successful, but to help others succeed as well. But Aryan's journey didn't end there. He knew that transformation is an ongoing process, and the questions he asked would continue to shape his future. Every day was an opportunity to grow and evolve, to ask better questions, and to find new ways to help others do the same. He understood that the key to living a fulfilled life wasn't in avoiding challenges, but in facing them with the right mindset. The right questions, he thought, are the compass that guide us toward our true purpose. As Aryan looked back on his journey, he asked himself, "What's next for me? How can I continue to grow and help others grow?" It was a question he hadn't fully explored before, but now, with the clarity he had gained, he felt ready for whatever came next. Now, I challenge you, the viewer. Think about the questions you're asking yourself every day. Are they holding you back, or are they helping you grow? What's one question you can ask today that will change your mindset and bring you closer to your true purpose? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's explore this together.